Okay, we're back on the record. Any additional questions, Dad?
Yeah. So, I'm just pretty conflicted with a lot of the statements that, or opinions, or whatever that Ms. Rosenblum has. She says she reviewed almost the entire notebook or whatever that I provided, all my exhibits or whatever. And then she says that I'm the one who wants Alicio to have these extremely invasive tests done and all that. So I just want to ask you, did you see 4 recommendations from the specialists, from 4 different specialists that they're the ones that requested Alicio have the motility test done, not me. I'm just wondering if you've seen those 4.
I'm not sure how many there were. I can think of at least 2 recommendations for motility studies. I'm not sure if there were 4. I can recall off the top of my head at least 2. One was from what appeared to be a paid expert, and the other was from a treating physician.
Paid expert, that's different. Yeah, one was from Joel Abbott. He's a urologist. He is a specialist. He's licensed. That's his specialty. See, I didn't know what a motility study was. I asked for a CAT scan or a CT scan, and they said no. A motility study would be appropriate for what Alicia's condition is. So we have 4 referrals for that test to be done. And then also for the bladder by Dr. Wang. The reason the Botox was offered by Dr. Wang, not by me, because I didn't even know Botox injections were able to treat something like that. Okay, so he referred or recommended that Botox would be appropriate or an option due to the lack of compliance with his medication. Since there's no consistency, because we know he does fine when he's on it, when he's taking it, he doesn't wet himself. But since there's no consistency in the treatment, that was another option because it would last around 6 months. So were you aware that was recommended by Dr. Wang? And that wasn't something that I wanted him to do?
I recall the physician recommendation, and I recall Botox being offered as an option by, I believe, one of the physicians. I'm not sure which one.
Okay. And then, do you remember when we met the first time in your office, me, my wife, and I think Alicia was waiting outside. You asked me a couple questions about the living situation, job, kids, all that kind of stuff. And then I kind of wanted to give you an idea of why I had to choose filing for custody, and I started to just give you some of the history, and then you cut me off and you said, I'm not worried about anything else but the medical, and you said, so we're not talking about that. Do you recall that?
No.
did you let me explain why I had to file for custody? Like I was trying to do?
I'm not sure. I don't remember if we had discussed that in our meeting or not.
Did you let me speak freely? Without cutting me off and saying we're not talking about that, I'm not worried about that. It's just, I'm here for the medical and that's it.
I thought that I did, but I don't remember.
Yeah, well, I wanted to give you an idea of why I had to file. I wanted to tell you that Mom was referred by Parental, a lifelong pediatrician that she's been taking to their whole life. I referred them to the gastro and doctors months before I seen them and never took them. You didn't let me tell you that. When I started to tell you about how she wasn't allowed to communicate with me, is about the time you cut me off. When I said she doesn't reply to me on Talking Parents, and she just doesn't. She doesn't open her messages or reply. Is about where you ended it. Do you recall any of that?
I remember you telling me that you communicate with Mom. I remember we looked at some of the Talking Parents communications, and I do remember you saying that Mom doesn't open it or doesn't reply. I remember us discussing that.
And you didn't go much further than that, because you pretty much put an end to it, and you said, I'm here for the medical, and that's it. Do you recall that?
I don't recall that.
So I'm just kind of, I don't know what to think, because, and then Aliana's brought into it. I didn't know about that. Everything that, Mom took Aliana in, obviously, but I didn't, and there's a lot of negatives about Dad, and Dad's, the chaos in Dad's home. You guys talk about chaos as if it's like a really negative thing, and I just like to share that, when you have 6 kids in one household, all different ages, 1, 3, 7, 11, 12, 15, do you expect it to be like a library, like quiet, like, I don't understand what you mean when you say it's chaos, and it's chaotic, and it's all this and that. I understand what you mean by that. I really don't. To me, it's normal. When you don't get to choose how many siblings you have, you don't get to choose the family you're born into. Yeah, so I'm just kind of having a difficult time understanding why it's to me I feel like you didn't have a problem with letting Mom express anything she wanted to tell you, but when I tried to, we're not talking about that.
Is there a question pending?
Yeah,
not
so
sure.
yeah, I'm
Ask
getting to
her
the question right now.
question.
So I just want to know, were you aware that Andrea was referred by Parental to a gastro doctor March of 2016? I said 2 to 3 months before I picked them up from school.
I am aware.
Do you know how many times she was referred by Parental?
Off the top of my head, I'm not.
It was twice. Do you know how many times she took him to a gastro doctor?
Off
After
the top
being
of my
referred?
head, I'm not sure.
0. Alicia was referred to by Parental?
Without referring to the records or my notes, I could not tell you.
But you reviewed almost the whole binder?
I reviewed every single medical record that was provided. I reviewed every single pleading that has been filed in this case.
So you don't know how many recommendations were made by Parental for Alicia or Aliana?
As I sit here in this moment, I do not recall. Without
There's also-
referring to my records or my report.
Okay, there's also one for a skin doctor. Do you know if Mom took him to the skin doctor?
As I sit here right now, without referring to the records or my report, I do not recall.
She did. So, and then also, there's a referral for Aliana for a neurologist and an ENT specialist. Do you know if Mom took Aliana to either?
I do not
Objection.
know.
That's beyond her knowledge. She didn't review Aliana's records.
Right, she already said that, and she doesn't know about Aliana. And that wasn't why I pointed her to Alicia, not to.
I will say for the record, Dad did provide me with quite a number of Aliana's records.
Okay.
I reviewed them. I did not give them weight in my report because, as the court has stated, my role was to review this matter for Alicia. I was not appointed for Aliana. I was not appointed as her guardian ad litem. The only reason that I met with Aliana was to obtain information as it related to Alicia.
Why wasn't I made aware that you would be interviewing Aliana?
I don't represent you, I represent Alicia. Part of my investigation and what I was tasked with by the court was to represent Alicia's interests and to gather the information that I felt was important. I also didn't make you aware that I had spoke with, in my opinion, an expert that is not related to this case. And if the physicians wouldn't have charged me to meet with them, I would have met with every single doctor involved in this case too. I wanted as much information about Alicia as possible because I feel that it is Alicia's voice that I represent to this court. And Ileana is his sister, and she has information.
Okay, so. I mean, either we're gonna talk about Aliana too or not, so I'm just kinda, cause you came up here and you said how you met with her, but you don't represent her, and you're relaying the conversation you had with her, or whatever she had to tell you, but we can't talk about anything else besides, I don't. When it comes to Aliana, okay, that's fine. Yeah, there's just a lot that I would have loved to share with you, that you didn't give me the chance to. You didn't give me the opportunity to speak freely about everything I wanted you to know. So I'm just kind of having trouble with you coming up here and having opinions about living situations and who should be taking who to the doctor and who should be in the office and everything when just having a hard time with that.
Well, you have to understand, I appointed her to represent
Yeah.
Alicia.
Yeah.
So she's relaying not just what she has gleaned, but what she's gleaned from Alicia. So she's taking her knowledge of the law and her role as his guardian, and she's relaying what she's heard from Alicia, what she's seen in the records, and what she believes is in his best interest, and she's representing that to the court as his advocate. So it's not really about, I mean, you've had the opportunity for a day and a half already to tell me what you think about what should happen. You've talked about his medical issues, you've talked about mom, your relationship with mom, your concern about mom and her abilities to handle the medical treatment. I mean, I know all of that already. What I wanted was somebody to step in, because I can't talk, I don't get to talk to Alicio. I mean, I guess I could have ordered his, an interview, but I felt it was best if I had somebody like Ms. Rosenblum to be able to meet with him, to be able to look at the whole picture. And as you can see, she's evaluated it from many aspects and has come up with some recommendations, especially regarding the medical, which to me keeps everybody in the loop, eliminates a lot of the stressors for Alicio, because that's what her job is to make recommendations on Alicio's behalf, or to advocate on Alicio's behalf. And like she said, it's not perfect, and I don't think anything in this case will ever be perfect. But all we can do is the best we can possibly do with the tools we're given. And my job is to create orders that will hopefully send you on your way, and Alicio on his way, and eliminate those stressors. And hopefully his medical treatment will settle down, become smooth and effective, and all of those things. But the question is, how does that occur? And like I think Ms. Rosenblum did a good job of telling us what her concerns were based upon her discussions with Alicio. And she's not the final determination. She's just giving us his perspective.
I guess I just wanted to relay and share with the court that, you know, what I was basically getting at is, you know, I don't understand how she can have opinions about the whole picture when I was trying to give her the tools and she didn't want to accept them.
Can I address Dad's concerns?
Mm-hmm.
So as the judges just stated, my role was to meet with Alicio, I would assume as many times as I felt necessary, to advocate for what he wants, and to advise the court as to what I believe as the guardian ad litem are in his best interest. So in my mind, those two things may not be necessarily the same thing. Advocating what he wants and what I believe is in his best interest may not necessarily be the same thing. When you are concerned about me using the word chaos and a lot of people in your household, it's not me saying that. That's your son saying that to me. Those are words that I have taken directly from Alicio and represented to the court. I've never been in your house. I don't know how many people are in your house on a daily basis. I don't know what life is like in your house. I have to rely on my client, who is Alicio, to tell me what he wants and what that household is like. And please don't mistake, if you felt that you did not have a forum in my office, I want to assure you, Mom did not have a forum in my office either. She did not come in, and I would not tolerate either parent laying out the laundry list of grievances they have with the other parent, because in my opinion, that was not my role in this case. I have reviewed every document that has been filed, every exhibit that has been filed, the multiple binders that you have had delivered to my office, every medical record that I have been provided. I met with you and your wife. I met with Mom. We opted, for whatever reason, I'm not even sure why, I never met with Noya. She never entered my office. I never spoke with her other than to meet her in my lobby. I never even spoke with her. So I understand why you feel like your side isn't being represented through me, but I'm not on either side. I'm on Alicio's side. He's my client. He's the voice that I have to make known to the court. And I'm sorry if you feel like you didn't get the opportunity to tell me every single thing you wanted to say, but rest assured, that mom did not have that opportunity in my office either.
Right, and you're making an assumption that she did, because you don't know what went on in there. So when you
Right,
said, well,
just
Mom,
the
I feel like
report.
she didn't listen to me and Mom listened to me, I mean, you couldn't know that.
Just the
Or,
report,
Mom,
the
pardon
report
me?
alone, just the report alone, and what her report said.
Well,
When she went over the records and basically relayed it on, the first portion, that was great. That was good. It was basically summarizing a lot of the records, not
mhm.
all of them. But and then when it goes into opinions was the only thing I was
But see,
you know,
but she's
that
not the
was the only
judge,
thing.
you have to understand.
Yeah, I do understand.
She's representing Alicia's,
Yeah.
interest. And when we say interest, she's got kind of a twofold, like she just said. She's gonna tell us what Alicia says. And then she's gonna tell us, after having evaluated it, why she believes this is the case and what she thinks is gonna help the situation
Yeah.
based upon Alicia's needs, because she's his advocate. So I think that her recommendation makes sense with regard to the medical treatment, because it is all over the place. It is all over the place. It's every single time we've come in here, I've seen a medical record from this doctor, from that doctor. We had a fight with this doctor. This one won't see us anymore until this is over. This one won't, talk to us anymore. We need to find another one. I mean, it's absurd. It's got to stop. And because while y'all want to win the battle, your son is losing the war. So that's the problem. And he's the one that's the most important person here. And I get Dad's concern, and I think I talked to you, Ms. Rosenblum, about historically he's hypervigilant. He thinks she's not, and that's why I asked you the question, because I think you even referenced in your report, like, there is that concern because he said he's missed, some meds over there and what have you. And that's been Dad's concern all along, because he feels like, and I mean, he's come in here countless times, saying he's okay at my house. By the time, and he goes to Mom's house, and then when he comes back, I have to start all over again. And I've heard that easily 20 times. And so that's what I'm concerned about. That's why I understand your recommendation of having one person take care of all of the treatment, and that those two, and only those parents, be involved in the treatment. And they're going to need to put their heads together and work together and comply.
Can I
Yeah.
just want to add one thing also for parents, and I guess for the court. I think that in having one physician be involved, parents and the physician need to sit down and make sure all of parents' questions are answered, all of them. I, again, observed a video by a physician. I've read the medical records. Emergency medical treatment isn't designed to be user-friendly necessarily. It's designed to triage and get you stabilized and get you on to somebody else.
Right.
I don't know that parents by themselves, and I don't know because I haven't seen it in the medical records. I guess physicians aren't taught to document the way we as their attorneys would teach them in a document, which is to write how much time they've actually spent with the parents answering questions. I think parents need to have all of their questions answered, not just the questions of the day or whatever brought Alicia in, but talking to a physician about, if we do this treatment, what does that look like? What are the risks? What are we concerned about? If he misses a dose, how does that affect him? Do we have to start all over? I don't know, again, I think Dad is hypervigilant, as the court says, because it was scary and because there was such a bad result.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if Mom truly appreciates the risks that are involved if he's missing, if he's not following through. And I don't know if Dad, on his side of it, truly appreciates that if he misses a dose, it's not catastrophic. And I'm not a doctor, again, I can't answer those questions, but I do feel like parents need that point of contact and that relationship with a physician to be able to ask all the questions they have and get the answers that they need to move forward. I feel that what I have observed, at least on video and in the records, is that there's a lot of tension in the room. There's a lot of physicians feeling and documenting even that they're in the middle of a custody argument, and there's a lot of animosity, and physicians don't want to be in the middle of a custody battle. So again, I think when this part of this case is over, hopefully parents will have a point of contact where they can ask all the questions they need to ask in a space that is not adversarial and is really intended to move Alicia forward. That's my hope.
Does he have, but he doesn't have one physician right now, correct?
My understanding is he is being seen by a urologist, and I'm not sure if he's with the pediatrician or not. I know the video I watched, that doctor was done. He did not want to be involved with these people anymore. And then I do see a lot of, and again, I haven't looked at the medical records since I prepared my report, so.
Okay.
Can I just add, we are just so far past everything you just said. The problem we're having is mom will not get down to the doctor's visits. So you want it to be just mom and dad in office when mom won't go.
Hold on, but she doesn't have to. So here's the thing, what she's recommending is this. One doctor who's sort of the umbrella, okay? That doctor then says, all right, I'm gonna look at all the medical records. We're gonna pick the urologist, we're gonna pick, I don't know if there's some gastroenterologist or somebody else that he needs, and then those two doctors are gonna report back to this doctor. And he's going to work with those two or three, however many doctors he needs, to create a treatment plan. You both are going to be entitled to go to the appointments. You're both going to be entitled to contact this doctor and the doctors that work with him. You don't have to show up. You don't have to be there at every appointment, but you have to be advised that the appointments are being set, that they need to occur, and everybody's entitled to show up. If mom never shows up, fine. But she's going to know what the treatment is. You're going to make sure that you go because that's how you are. Mom wants to show up every other time or one every 10 times, whatever. But at the end of the day, you're going to have one treatment provider that follows him throughout all of his different medical, different treatments. So that way, you don't have 14 different doctors seeing him, advising you, maybe you should try this, maybe you should try that. You have one. And then, like she said, you also keep everybody else out of it. And then, at that point, I was thinking about this when she was talking, if you have the one treatment provider that, the word I want to use, manages all of the other specialties, and someone isn't complying, someone is just not following the recommendations, someone is just doing your child a disservice, then I can deal with that at that point, because then I know who is or isn't doing what is necessary for him. You can flip through your notebook all day long. The problem is you've got 14, but you guys have both gone different directions instead of going in the same one, and that's what's caused me the problem. And that's why I appointed Ms. Rosenblum, because it was impossible for me to look at that and say, all right, now I know who's at fault. Yeah, now I know which doctor should, we follow in terms of the recommendation. There's no way to know, and there isn't an expert in this case because nobody can afford to hire an expert, and I get it. So we have Ms. Rosenblum telling us, after looking at all of that, and thankfully she has that medical background, that she was able to say, it's clear that there's no clear path here. There's been no cohesiveness. This kid's gotten, he's dragged to the doctor 14 times in 2 years, but no one's followed one treatment plan. So the point of this trial is to establish a baseline, orders for custody, orders for the medical and the legal custody, and if someone doesn't follow it, then I can deal with them. But at this point, the way you've been functioning, it's anybody's guess at this point.
Okay, can we just move on and can I refer to some exhibits and then maybe...
For what? She's already made her recommendation. I mean, if you're looking for something in terms of to change her mind? Are you looking to change her
I want
mind?
to ask you, so you're talking about this video and why we were discharged from Dr. Sheik, right?
Mhm.
Why do you think we were discharged from Dr. Sheik?
From what I watched on the video, my understanding was that he believed there was no further medical intervention on his part that was necessary. He also, in my opinion, appeared very frustrated with this family and did not want to be involved in this litigation any further.
Let me ask you a question real quick. Is that the same doctor who said, until there's one person picked to do this, I'm not seeing these
No.
people anymore? It's a different one.
No,
See,
this is the
that's
very
what I'm
first,
saying.
This is the very first gastro doctor
Okay.
we were seeing before the very first court date.
Okay, but
So-
what my point being, oh, that's really, I mean, that's just
Yeah.
telling. So there was another doctor that said, I can't do anymore until I know what goes on with this custody case, because you two, again, probably had your significant others and everybody at these meetings and disputing what was to happen. And quite frankly, I'm going to construct orders in such a way that, look, if the doctor says this is what you do, this is what you do, and if there's some dispute that needs to be addressed, obviously you can get experts. I mean, I don't think anybody has the ability to get experts involved at this point. So you need someone to manage his treatment. One person, one doctor, and you need to and you may not always agree with that doctor. Neither one of you. I mean, both of you may not agree with the doctor, but one of you may not agree with the doctor. Then what happens? Are you going to be back in here fighting again? The goal is to say, okay, well, I'm not really thrilled with this, but if this is what all the experts, the doctors, the urologists, the treating physician, the gastro doctor says we need to do, then we're going to do it.
We have all that. We have all that. Everything you guys are talking about, we've been.
You don't, because you've not had one doctor manage his treatment. You've had like several doctors manage.
Okay, I don't understand where the number 14 came from.
14
At
visits.
all. No, 14
visits.
different treating physicians.
She didn't
or
say that.
doctors.
She said 14 visits.
No, there's been 14
Oh, 14
different
physicians?
physicians involved.
I
Can
thought
you
she said
name
14
the
visits.
14, please, because I have.
Not without referring to my records, and I provided a supplement that included a breakdown of all of the visits, every single medical record I reviewed.
Well, it would, I mean,
would
if
be
you're
with the
looking at the
report.
ones that are in your report,
Yeah, I
I mean,
believe
that
it
means
was
that every
14.
single time he went to one of these different places, he saw somebody different.
Not every, I don't believe it was every time.
Well, if you went to Northwest Pediatrics, St. Rose Dominican, Desert Pediatrics, Advanced Pediatric
Right.
Gastroenterology, Steinberg,
He's always
Pediatrics.
had one gastro
Uh-huh.
and one urologist, and if he's ever been to the emergency
not
room, you see who's ever.
He sees somebody different every time,
Every time.
obviously. Yeah.
Not every time, she's always taken the majority of the time to UMC, which either sees Dr. Reeves or.
Okay, but let me ask you a question then, Dad, and I mean, we're kind of getting off track, but Northwest Pediatrics, Desert Pediatrics, those are two different doctors, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
one's a.
Pediatrics Lead Center,
One's his, PCP, that's the mental.
I think I have a copy in there.
Lead is Alhosh.
okay.
What was the other one you said?
Desert,
Desert Pediatrics is, Dr. Weiner, the pediatrician that the kids are supposed to see now.
okay. Then there's, hold on. So then there's, Advanced Adolescent Pediatric Gastroenterology, that's a different doctor, correct?
Dr. Wang.
Okay. Then there's
Oh,
Pediatrics.
that was Dr. Sheik.
Okay, then there's
the first
Pediatrics
one.
Enterology,
What's that?
Pediatrics Enterology, I don't know. And then Las Vegas Pediatric Urology, Allergy and Asthma Associates.
Dr. Chitori.
Right,
Yeah.
so far is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Chesapeake Urology,
That's,
That's the expert.
that's, Dr. Joel Abbott.
that's Abbott.
We gave him all of Alicia's records and he gave his second opinion.
Okay,
I'd like to go over that sometime.
and then you have St. Rose, Sienna, that's the emergency room, right?
Mhm.
And then Steinberg, he's probably gotten some
That's,
films.
yeah,
Spire Mental Health, Sunrise Hospital, Southern Hills Hospital.
that's Chelsea, or
Right.
the therapist.
Right,
So,
right,
I
right.
mean,
So
he has the skin doctor, the urologist, the gastroenterologist. He also has
but here's the thing.
he has like 5 different
Yeah.
things going on with him. So
Right.
I
But
mean,
here's the problem.
how is
When
there
you
not
when
a
you
lot of
have that
doctors?
and you don't have one person managing the care, you potentially have people contradicting or there's contraindications or all kinds of things that if they don't know what's going on with all the different other doctors, that's why you have that one that manages the care, then it potentially can eliminate some of this, and that's the goal, right?
I think that there should be 2 people managing his care, which would be mom and dad. But that can't happen. It has not happened in over this whole time.
I know,
3 years.
because everybody's fighting
So-
over custody. You don't
It
think that the custody fight has anything to do with that?
So-
I'm asking you. Do you think the custody fight has anything to do with that?
What, working together for
Mhm.
Alicia's care? I think that should come first, yeah.
I agree with you, but I'm just asking you a question. Do you think the custody battle, and each of you trying to prove you're the better person to do this or the better person to have custody, has gotten in the way of managing his care properly? Because
I think that you should be able to put your feelings aside, be mature, and work and do what's best for your son. Whether
I
you
agree.
like the person or not.
I agree.
And that won't happen. And it hasn't.
Well, but I think a lot of it too is that if you disagree, then you in particular, I know, have gotten upset with her because she's not agreed with you on certain treatment options, and
Not that
If
she
she-
hasn't
as a
agreed
joint
with me. I'm not giving these recommendations. The doctors.
okay, fair enough.
About the question was why you thought we were discharged from that or whatever, can you refer to this exhibit, because I have the discharge letter here.
I don't know what exhibit you're looking at. And I didn't
What is the point of your question?
I didn't
It's
bring my whole back,
Okay.
because I realize this.
well, to make accurate report, I mean, you gotta go off facts, you can't go off of hearsay and
Well, I'm sure she's read, like she said, she's read everything. But what part of this report are you saying that this letter
this
was
is why we were
reviewed?
discharged from the first gastro doctor.
Okay. The
And
one
they're
that she
saying
just talked
something
about?
completely different, but they have not submitted any record evidence, video. We haven't seen the video.
Okay, but does it matter?
Yeah, it does. It
Why?
does matter because
Why? 'Cause you're
we
gonna
need to
prove
go off
that
of
you're right?
facts.
But what does it matter? You've been discharged.
Okay.
The point
and
is
the
you,
reason is because of inconsistency of care.
right.
That's why, and it's in the record why we were discharged.
Okay.
So
Can you tell me what
it
exhibit?
does make a difference.
What exhibit is it?
I have like 5 books that I have to shuffle through, so. I could give you
7A.
a jump on this. This is just now being handed to me, so I've never seen any of this. Is that what you're saying?
Well, Mr. President was one supposed to be here, so I don't know. I can't answer that.
I'm
No,
sorry,
you,
which,
no,
am I
you
looking
can
at
answer
this
that to
one?
me. It's been produced to my
Yes, it
office.
has.
What's
Yes, it has.
what's the exhibit?
7A, or 7A is the discharge letter from an
Dr.
advanced
Shake.
adolescent pediatric gastroenterology. They're sitting here saying that we were discharged because they just didn't want to be involved, or that there's conflict, or that I was being irate with dinner or something. Well, the reason we're discharged says something different.
Well, she didn't say that you were being irate or there was some. She said that the doctor seemed frustrated.
She mentioned that.
What's the question?
She wants her to look. He wants her to look at the letter because he's asking her.
Lawful
He thinks that her testimony somehow is refuted by this letter.
It's 7A.
Yes.
Yeah, there's,
You
they've
have
all
it?
been, I have filed, received a copy for everything. So, your office has received it.
Okay.
Are these old or new binders?
I just
These are the
don't
ones you
know.
had forever?
No, I
No.
just was given this.
These
I
are
have.
these are different ones that were put together for everything that was basically in these motions and for this court date.
Okay.
So this
Everything
is,
that's been submitted for
okay,
these motions.
discovery is closed, so I don't, actually, I'm really confused on how to object, 'cause I don't even know what he's doing.
I don't either. I'm sure. I'm just trying to figure out what he. So she's seen the letter.
Mhm.
So what's the question? She says that she saw the letter. So what's the question?
But why were we discharged? Why did you think, what was the reason you thought we were discharged from, and you said it was because of the video and that the conflict in the doctor just didn't want to be involved or in the middle of it anymore, when that's incorrect. So right here, it
So
says,
let her answer the question. You have a question, or are you trying to prove something? Because you don't need to prove that to her. You can tell that to me.
well, I just want you to get, like,
You're missing the
How could
point
you
of her
make-
again.
how
So
could you make a report and opinions when she doesn't have the facts?
she's
It needs to be
relaying.
facts. You have
She's
to go off
relaying
of-
Alicia's wishes. She's not making an opinion about what these doctors did. The doctors did what they did. I can read the documents. That what she testifies to is not really. I mean, the documents speak for themselves.
Yeah.
So you've seen that letter, correct?
I've seen it.
And you've seen it before, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But you also watched video of that particular doctor dealing with the family?
I believe it was a video of this particular doctor on the very last encounter that he had with the family.
Okay, but this is the discharge letter, right? Is the reason why we were discharged.
All I can tell you is that I've seen this letter and I've seen the video.
I mean, she can't get in the
Why the
doctor's
doctor
head.
would write. If your question is this what the letter says? Yes, this is what the letter says. The letter says what it says.
Discharging patient from our practice, parent, guardian, non-compliance with recommended treatment plan, failure to adhere to maintain scheduled follow-ups.
I agree that is what the letter says.
So you, just, some of the report just do not reflect facts. Is what I'm trying to get to. You know what I mean?
But are you trying to say that what she saw in the video didn't have any influence?
some of it, yes, some of it, no, it's just.
Okay, so don't worry about it. I mean, I think that you need to tell me what you think with regard to what those letters say, but she doesn't need to change her mind. She's testified. You don't need to prove anything to her. That's not why you're here.
Okay.
That's not why she's here.
That's fine.
So, I mean, she's acknowledged what you're saying, that the letter says what you said it says. On the video, did the doctor express anything that, I don't know that I've seen the video.
That'd be
Did the doctor
hearsay.
express anything that, of concern? Do you remember? Like related to the fact that they were inconsistent in care, or that they were just frustrating?
Not that I recall. I recall that Dr. Sheikh was very diplomatic in his communication with his family. My recollection of the video was that his opinion was that he made some recommendations regarding things that could happen, or additional treatments that could be done if the family wanted to pursue it further, but that he made it clear, I think at least 2 or 3 times, that he was no longer willing to continue to treat this family.
Okay.
And in my opinion, it was because he did not want to be involved in their custody battle.
And that's what I'm having trouble with. Your opinion and the discharge letter say 2 different,
Okay,
completely
well,
different
when you
things.
say their custody battle, the litigation wasn't ongoing yet, so you mean just the fact that they were in a disagreement?
At odds with each other. And I don't think this is the only record I reviewed of this doctor. As I recall, there were other medical records that were provided to me by Dr. Sheikh.
Okay. All
Alright,
right,
so should I
any
just-
other questions?
Yeah, just questions, I guess.
Am I done with this? Can I put this down?
Have you ever reviewed any records that stated that an appointment unnecessary?
No, I have not.
You stated that it was borderline child abuse as far as in your report specifically, borderline child abuse, that I'd be taking them to so many visits or what have you. So just as a parent, do you believe that you should ignore your child when they're telling you don't feel good, stomach hurts, or any other symptoms that they're starting to display when you know they have this condition, but you don't know how severe it is at that point, so you want to find, do you think you should find out, you should just put it off?
Objection, that's beyond Miss Rosenblum's scope. She's
It's
not
an
an
opinion.
expert
It's an
parent.
opinion. She's a parent. Should you
She's
take
not-
your child's?
She's not a parent
Can-
in this role.
Well, what's it beyond the scope of?
Her opinion as a parent.
Well, I think,
I mean,
I think
whether
that
she should
the
ignore
question
her
is,
children.
I'm gonna overrule the the objection, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Uh-huh.
So, should you take your child's? Should you be concerned when your child is saying, "I have these problems, I don't feel good," or whatever? Or should you just ignore it and say, "Oh, you're fine, you'll grow out of it. There's nothing wrong with you."
I think it depends on the child and the circumstance and what the complaints are.
So, Alicia doesn't have, social media. Okay. So, do you think it's appropriate for anybody to share anything with him, whether it be his sister or whoever? Those types of things, when it would only stress him out more, supposedly? If everybody's so worried about Lisa's stress, do you think it's appropriate to show him things that he otherwise would not know about?
If you're asking me, is it appropriate for anybody to show Alicio about things that are going on with this particular litigation, my answer is no, it's not appropriate.
But what she's reported is that he has seen it, even though it's not appropriate.
And for the record, I don't know who showed it to.
You said it was his sister.
She said she thought it
I
might be his
believe it was. I'm not 100% sure.
Do you think if there were consistent treatment, care, compliance, there would be as many doctor's visits or ER visits? Do you think there would be the same amount if everybody was on the same page, and everybody was doing what they're supposed to? Do you think he would be going through this 2 years, 3 years?
Again, I believe that if there was one physician that was aware of the entirety of the universe of medical records that could direct Alicio's care, there would not be as much of a need for different experts and different medical treatments as there have been involved in this case. I can't speculate as to whether or not one parent's hypervigilance or another parent's inattention would result in additional medical treatment.
So, do you think, I mean,
Can I help him out?
I'm sorry?
Can I help him out here?
Yeah?
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I want to make it clear. Mr. Geraldo, my concern for this case from what I see from a medical perspective is that there are multiple different physicians involved, and as you've just run through with the judge, there's a gastroenterologist, a pediatrician, a skin doctor, an allergist. I don't know, and I don't believe that those physicians are communicating with each other. And so what a gastroenterologist might recommend would be different than a urologist, might be different than a pediatrician, might be different than the skin doctor. And to me, to resolve the number of different specialists that are involved, to resolve your concerns about mom not taking Alicia to the doctor, to resolve mom's concerns about you taking Alicia to the doctor too much, would be resolved with one physician that knew everything and was aware of everything. I don't know that when you take Alicia to the gastroenterologist that the urologist gets those records, or that his primary care doctor gets those records, or that his allergist gets those records. One physician should be able to review all of the medical records and direct a course of treatment instead of there being multiple different specialties involved, making what could be conflicting recommendations. One physician says medication, another physician says Botox. I'm not a doctor, I don't know what's right, but one physician could help to resolve those issues.
Right, which is what I was saying earlier. Even with treatments that could potentially be contraindicated by another treatment, you don't know that a medicine that this one recommends isn't causing a stomach problem over here when, you know, he's taking this one and this one. You just don't know. But if you have one person evaluating all of it and making sure that all those records are collected in one place where they can be evaluated together, I think your child will be much better off.
Yeah, I probably just have like maybe more questions. So,
Okay.
you stated that mom and dad should be at the appointments and nobody else, okay?
Correct.
Okay, so when mom and dad's at work, obviously he's gonna be with stepmom, grandma, partner, whatever. So, don't you think it would be to Alicia's benefit that everybody was on the same page, can be mature, can be in one room at the same time without making comments, like, and just work together for Alicia? Do you think that would benefit him? Or do you think that, I mean, the people that are taking care of him shouldn't be involved in the treatment?
I would love
and dad
that
at work.
everyone could leave this courtroom with rainbows and unicorns. I have looked at this case, I've looked at all of the pleadings that have been filed in this case, and in my opinion, I don't think it's realistic that everyone can walk into a room and keep their comments to themselves and not point fingers at each other. I think that Alicia loves you and loves mom and wants you two to get along, and wants your family members to get along. And short of that, based on what I've seen and the level of conflict involved in this case, in my opinion, I don't think it is realistic to expect that simply because the court says everybody leave here and be on your best behavior, that is going to happen. So how does the court manage that? In my opinion, the recommendation that I have is for the court to order mom and dad be present for Alicia's medical appointments. This is your son. You gotta make it work. You gotta be available. You have to. I mean, if his medical health is that important, then you have to be available to be there for him. You have to. He wants you there. He wants mom there. He wants you both involved.
I think I only missed one appointment because I was at work.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't have any more
Okay.
questions.
Anything else, Ms. Vasquez?
Just, I wanted to clarify, since your time representing Alicia, has his position on where he wants to reside wavered at all?
No.
And is there anything that's happened since your report that would make you change your recommendations?
As I stated before, Alicia was made aware that he could contact me at any time. He has not contacted me to notify me of any change of his position.
Okay. And would you recommend that this case end today? for
100%.
Alicia's sake.
Yes, 100%.
Okay. And would you like that your recommendation be adopted as a temporary order if it could not be resolved today? As Alicia,
I'm not gonna delegate myself to do the judge's job.
No, I know that. I'm just
I've made
saying.
my recommendations.
Yes. If Alicia was here, standing next to you, and Judge, would you, if it's not resolved today, Judge, would you do primary?
She's not a custody evaluator.
I,
Nope.
No, I know.
I
I'm
have
saying representing.
Well, she's not making recommendations on custody. She's just telling me what
He wants.
what her client wanted.
So
Whether
does
it's best for
Alicia-
him or not best for him is not up to her,
Okay.
and she
So
didn't
does
make
it-
that finding anyway. So
Does Alicia want his preference for his residency to start immediately?
Yes, I believe that I believe that Alicia's position has not changed, and that if Alicia were here to tell the judge himself, that is what he would tell the judge.
Okay, thank you.
all right, I'm gonna let you step down. And
This chair's so comfy
you
though.
can, is it comfortable? Well, you're, I think, the first person who said that. All right, so it's now 5:12. I'm gonna let her. I think we can excuse you. Thank you very much. And we can take our lunch break. Dad ended last time, and Dad, you've had a day and a half of trial. We only have a half day left for Mom to put on her part of the trial.
Oh, well, we're actually done too, so I was
Are you?
thinking closing arguments.
Okay, because she's just going to stick with her testimony that she put on from the beginning. Okay, during Dad's case in chief.
Correct.
Okay, all right. So
I'd like to reserve the right to recall Andrea.
you'd like to recall who?
Andrea?
Andrea. Okay. Well, we're gonna come back. If I don't want you to rehash. No rehashing. I've heard a day and a half of testimony already. Well, now it's 2 days. So if you're going to recall her on rebuttal, I'll give him the opportunity to. But if we start down the same path again, we're done. Okay, and then you'll do your closing. So it will just be rebuttal in response to any of her other. I mean, you've already been able to actually cross-examine her once already. But if there's something new that's been part of the trial, you can talk to her about it. But I'd like for you to keep it brief so that we can end today. All right, so I will give you your lunch break. We'll come back at...
Just for housekeeping too, Judge,
Yeah.
sorry. There are pending motions before you, I think.
I'll deal with all of it.
5. So I don't know if you're gonna want to.
Did you say 5?
I think so.
No.
Let me double check.
Well, I mean, there are all kinds of motions. I just put everything on for today because
That's fine.
I'm
they
going to
can
make a
all,
final...
and
yeah.
one of them was, we filed a motion for order to cause back in July 2017, so it's been continued each time we continue trial. And then obviously the rescind motions, so I don't know how you want to deal with that, or if you want us to just incorporate it into our closing argument?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, you can both incorporate all your motions into your closing argument because they're motion hearings, basically. So if there's something else I need to deal with, I'll deal with it at that point. Okay? All right, so I will go off the record now. It's 5 minutes to 12. Let's just come back at 1:30.